I've done enough funerals to know that there's just something about being at the burial site. Oftentimes when a person loses a spouse or a child, after the funeral, when all the people have returned home, the living spouse or parents want to go back to the cemetery just to be with their loved one. They can't stay away. They want to fix the flowers and they want to make sure everything is just right, or they just want to sit close by. Loved ones don't forget burial sites. In John chapter 20, Mary Magdalene is much of the same mindset. She just wants to be close by to her Lord. And upon arriving, she sees something that disturbs her. The tombstone has been removed. And you'll notice that a resurrection is the farthest thing from her mind. She thinks the body has been stolen by the authorities. Now remember, John has written this, so we would have eyewitness testimony to deal with. Notice how many times the word saw or seen comes up in our text. Mary saw the tombstone rolled away in verse 1. John saw the grave clothes in verse 5. Peter saw the grave clothes and the headcloth in verse 6. And then John saw the grave clothes and the headcloth in verse 8. So we have all of these eyewitnesses to the empty tomb. But it doesn't end there. The next thing we read in verse 12 is that Mary sees two angels and she sees the resurrected Lord. That's the major announcement of this particular text. I have seen the Lord. And then we read about the disciples who were scared and afraid, hiding out from the Jewish authorities, and that they get a visit from the resurrected Jesus. And the text says they saw the Lord. And they tell one disciple, Thomas, who was not there when Jesus came to them, that they have seen the Lord. These are not hallucinations. It's one thing for one person to hallucinate. It's a completely different, astronomically unlikely thing for multiple people to hallucinate the same thing, much less 400 people that Paul tells us about in 1 Corinthians 15. These men and women were eyewitnesses to the resurrected Christ. So does the resurrection of Jesus have any meaning for you today? Listen to what Jesus says in John chapter 20, verse 29. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. He is still alive. And even though we cannot see him now, there is coming a day when our faith will be made sight. So walk with Jesus in his word day by day until that great day. As you pray, please remember Larry and Tammy Wood, our missionaries in the Ukraine. And also remember the KIPARE Lifeword broadcast heard in Tanzania.